he doesn't like how you're walking around with the BMF belt.
It just makes no sense what he's doing, walking around with it or whatever. The belt was on the line. Get over it, brother. You know, like, why you spend money on a damn fucking belt?
That's not my problem. I just knock him out.
Yeah.
Like, how you can still being the BMF if I knock you out? I just told you, I pointed the ground in the first 10 seconds. You run away. Then I caught you anyways. Then I put you to sleep. And you still the BMF? How's that?
The explosive war of words between newly crowned lightweight champion Ilia Topuria and BMF title holder Max Holloway. What started as a knockout at UFC 308 has escalated into a full-blown verbal assault that has the entire MMA community talking.
Of course, in the main event, we had Dustin Poirier in his final fight taking on Max Holloway. I thought that Dustin Poirier might get the job done, but I was concerned because Max Holloway at 155 pounds is bigger, does hit harder, and can take a better shot. And as I said, going into this one, he's the younger man. And all the advantages that Dustin Poirier had going into the first two fights with Max, being the bigger, stronger, more experienced guy, that played against him. Now, Max Holloway went out and he looked phenomenal. The punch power is definitely increased at 155 pounds. Max Holloway has stopped plenty of people, but typically he wears them down with volume before he gets the finish.
Let's set the stage. Back in October at UFC 308, the unthinkable happened. Max Holloway, the legendary featherweight who had never been stopped by strikes in his career, met his match against Ilia Topuria. In a shocking turn of events, El Matador became the first fighter to knock out Blessed with strikes, capturing the featherweight championship in the process. But here's where things get interesting. The BMF belt wasn't on the line that night. Holloway had won the baddest man title at UFC 300 with that iconic last-second knockout of Justin Gaethje. So technically, despite being knocked unconscious, Holloway retained his BMF status. Topuria, however, saw things differently. Shortly after the fight, he purchased his own BMF belt and began posing with it on social media, claiming he was the rightful BMF champion. This didn't sit well with Holloway, and the tension has been building ever since. Fast forward to UFC 317, where Topuria shocked the world again, this time moving up to lightweight and demolishing Charles Oliveira with a first-round knockout to capture the 155-pound championship. Topuria became a two-division champion, but instead of celebration, this victory reignited his feud with Holloway.
I'm the best fighter in the world. And it's not that if I'm going to win the belt, I'm going to do it. I'm going to knock him out in the first round. They always used to be like this, but after the fight, you know what's happened.
In a recent interview with MMA Junkie, Holloway couldn't contain his excitement about Topuria's move to lightweight, and it wasn't for the reasons you might think. Fight with Ilia at 1555. We just gonna have to find out. When they announced Oliveira versus Topuria for the title, I was the happiest man alive. I have history with both guys.
You know, Ilia was poking at him, saying, "Yeah, keep walking forward, keep walking," almost daring him, you know. And Oliveira took the bait, and you know, he was on a shitty end of a punch.
A lot of people, look at that fight, all the fights he's had, and think, you've done the best, and you had some great moments in those first two. When you think about how a fight could look between you two at 55, what do you think would be different?
Holloway revealed he has personal history with both fighters, having knocked out Oliveira himself when Du Bronx was still at featherweight. But his real target was clear when he addressed Topuria's BMF belt antics. "I know old boy likes to walk around with a BMF title, but if he wants an authentic one, he knows where to find me."
They're figuring out my fight, you know what I mean? We have this BMF title, so I know old boy likes walking around with a BMF title, but, you know, if he wants an authentic one, he knows where to find me, you know?
The message was crystal clear. If Topuria wants the real BMF belt, he'll have to fight for it properly, not just buy a replica online. Ilia Topuria has never been one to back down from a verbal exchange, and his response to Holloway's criticism was absolutely savage. During a recent appearance on the Nelk Boys podcast, El Matador fired back with arguably the most brutal comeback in recent MMA history. "That's not my problem. I just knocked him out. How can you still be the BMF if I knocked you out? I pointed to the ground in the first 10 seconds. You ran away, then I caught you anyway, and I put you to sleep. And you're still the BMF. How's that?"
He doesn't like how you're walking around with the BMF belt.
It just makes no sense what he's doing, walking around with it or whatever. The belt was on the line. Get over it, brother. You know, like, why you spend money on a damn fucking belt?
That's not my problem. I just knock him out. I just knock him out.
Yeah.
Like, how you can still being the BMF if I knock you out? I just told you, I pointed to the ground in the first 10 seconds. You run away. Then I caught you anyways. Then I put you to sleep. And you're still the BMF? How's that?
Topuria didn't just stop there. He went into detail about their fight, claiming he pointed to the ground early in the bout, suggesting Holloway ran away, before ultimately landing the knockout blow. The Georgian-Spanish fighter's logic is simple. How can someone be the baddest fighter if they got knocked unconscious? This response has divided the MMA community. Some argue Topuria has a point. If you knock out the BMF champion, shouldn't you inherit the title? Others contend that the belt wasn't officially on the line, making Topuria's claims illegitimate. But Holloway isn't the only fighter on Topuria's radar. The lightweight champion also had harsh words for Arman Tsarukyan, who many consider the rightful #1 contender after his recent performances. First of all, who gives a fucks about him? He's kind of weird, dude. He pulled out for no reason. If you have a serious reason, I don't know how it could happen, but break your hand, your leg, something like that, I don't know. Me? I would go, even like that, inside the octagon.
So if he wants to assure his title shot, he has to fight with Justin Gaethje, because if he fights with Arman, I think that Arman's going to beat him. So the easiest path he has right now to get the title shot is Justin.
Okay, thank you.
Stylistically.
Thank you.
Tsarukyan had previously withdrawn from a title fight against Islam Makhachev at UFC 311, and Topuria hasn't forgotten. The champion's dismissive attitude toward the Armenian fighter has only added more fuel to the lightweight division's already heated atmosphere. When asked about potential opponents, Topuria mentioned Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett as more likely options, essentially dismissing Tsarukyan's claims for a title shot.
Seriously, who do you think you'll be, the UFC will give you next? I'm curious, because there's a lot of guys.
I don't know. I think that they are going to try to push for Justin. This is what I think. Or maybe Paddy. There's not even conversation about Arman.
So where do we go from here? Holloway successfully defended his BMF title against Dustin Poirier at UFC 318, winning by unanimous decision. The victory keeps his authentic BMF belt secure, while Topuria continues to flaunt his purchased replica. UFC CEO Dana White has expressed interest in potentially running back the Topuria-Holloway fight with the BMF title officially on the line this time. However, White hasn't committed to making Holloway the next challenger for Topuria's lightweight crown. The situation presents a fascinating scenario. Two champions in different divisions, both claiming to be the real BMF. Topuria has the knockout victory and the argument that he defeated the man who held the belt. Holloway has the official recognition and the argument that the title wasn't on the line during their fight. This drama perfectly encapsulates what makes MMA so compelling. It's not just about what happens in the octagon, it's about the personalities, the pride, and the verbal warfare that builds these legendary rivalries. Whether you side with Topuria's knockout logic or Holloway's official championship status, one thing is certain: if these two ever meet again, it will be must-see television. The question isn't if they'll fight again, but when, and whether the BMF belt will finally be settled once and for all. That's all for tonight's UFC Central. Keep training, keep watching, and we'll see you next time for more breaking news from the world of mixed martial arts.